everybody, welcome back. It's PMS on AM5.
This is Ben AI6YR. Just a quick look at a restoration I did. This is a National NC-57B, which is a 1940s era receiver, World War II era. This one I think is built, indicates it was built or sold in 1946. This radio is either AC or battery. That's the 57B indicates battery, so you can actually plug in a 6-volt battery and a 180 volt battery, and this will run out in the field. Looks like the prior owner of this radio put in some special circuitry. This is actually appears to be, from what I can tell, a marker generator. So in the ham bands or actually anywhere else, it'll put a marker every so often. I think it's every 200 kilohertz or 100 kilohertz, something like that. So you can align your radio very accurately. The radio here, I had to replace all the capacitors because I'll show you some of these maybe. Just dropping the capacitors. This is full of wax capacitors, and wax capacitors don't work after what is it, 60 years? So I had to replace all of those, and some paper capacitors as well. So here's the front of the National NC-57. There's a pitch here because this has a CW BFO, which makes it nice because you can also listen to sideband. And I've recorded a little bit of 40 meter sideband there. It has AVC, MVC, the CW mode, and noise limiter mode, A&L. This is the AF gain. There's 3 tones, which just change how much noise gets through, and RF gain and AF gain. And there's that. The trimmer is actually an antenna trimmer, so you can tune your radio to the best, the loudest signal that you can from whatever antenna you have. I'll get an end fed wire here. There's a main tuning dial, and there's a tuning dial for finer control. This one actually is currently working, but the dial is not changing, and that's because I'm missing dial string, which I haven't fixed yet. So let's take a look at the other end of the radio. So here's the back side of the radio. First off, you have antenna. This is the antenna connector. There's actually there's a ground connector and there's 2 antenna connectors, and depending on how you configure that depends on what bands you're doing. This is for the S meter. So there's an S meter that I actually can show you, which I don't have connected there. There's an S meter, so you can actually see how you're tuning. And the other plug is actually a plug for AC or DC operation, and also muting if you have a transmitter elsewhere. If you don't have this plug, this radio doesn't work, and so you have to be aware of that as well. And that's the power, it says power X1 P1 connector there, and you have to have these bridged, otherwise this radio won't work. Power cord, I just replaced the power cord because the power cord that originally came with this radio was crispy, and obviously a crispy power cord is very dangerous. And then I also put a fuse in here. I put a 3 amp fuse. I think a 2 amps probably what's recommended, because these radios had no fuses, and that's a fire hazard. Pull this out here, and you'll see here this is a very non-standard computer plug, but it was what three-prong power cord I had, so it's a lot safer now than it was when it was built in 1946. One of the things about these old radios is you can flip open the top to see what's going on. Now, don't do that because there's high voltage. Don't poke around in there because there's high voltage. This is the tuning capacitors. So these turn, as does this one, to change where you are listening to in the band, and that changes what frequency you're on. There's a little light. That I mentioned is a marker unit, and those are interesting tubes. These are compactron tubes, which I think they're 1970s. innovation which packed a bunch of vacuum tubes into a tiny little space. Documentation on those is kind of hard to find. There's 3 coils here, and those 3 coils are between the 3 main stages, and those are these the metal capped vacuum tubes. And I need to clean the inside of this, but I haven't done that yet. This one, and actually this one, they're all various stages for amplifying signals, and the coils are to match the input and the output of those stages. You can go look at the schematic if you're interested. There's a tube missing, and that is for the limiter, the ANL, and there's a 6H6 there. Believe it or not, I have a big pile of tubes, and I cannot find one of those. That cool blue, glowing purple tube is a VR150, which puts out 150 volts at constant current used for the power supply. And one of these, I'm not sure which one, this one or this one, I believe is the audio tube. And I have to go look at the schematic for that. So that's the inside of this. It's kind of nice. I'll put up a photo of the bottom as well. This is the speaker, and you'll see there's a interesting little coil there. Not that, the coil spec behind there. That's to match the output of the vacuum tube, and I think it's that tube right there, to the 8 ohms or 16 ohms or 4 ohms or whatever it is of the speaker.
Really good season, and Malcolm Brown is coach.
Class offer.
Guys are big contributors, and if you're saying
Tennessee, I like the Toledo. Working staff, he told me.
clock, maybe a little bit different than what we've seen, that might be the identity of this team this year.
RVU with my call to the Bravo, and I carried on over. Been having ever since. I'm now 78 years old, and my city of Mesa, Arizona, and I think I got your call as Kilo Alpha 1 Tango Mike. Is that correct? Go ahead.